Oh, I love icebreaker speeches. Aren't they fun? And now I have a new thing to say to my children. You did what? Our next speaker didn't really think about grown-ups, as they were just those big people who made all the rules. Now he is one of those big people here at Toastmasters, having been a member of our club since April 1998 and having served in most club roles. He is a past Area A1 governor and currently the president of Peninsula Pros, another club here on the Monterey Peninsula. With this speech and the completion of his High Performance Leadership Project, he will have completed the requirements for Advanced Leader Silver. Now stay with me. He is just one speech away from earning Advanced Communicator Gold, which together with his Advanced Leader Silver will garner him Distinguished Toastmaster, DTM, the initials we all strive for. Here with a 5 to 7 minute speech titled The Fall Division Contest, please welcome Arnie Buss.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and distinguished guests. This is a different kind of speech than most of you have heard, although those of you who heard Andrew Kennedy's speech a few weeks ago know that it's from the same manual. Rather, maybe if you could hold up the front of the manual here. Everything in Toastmasters has a manual, and this is part of the High Performance Leadership Project, which is part of the Advanced Leader Silver, as the Toastmaster described. The purpose of this speech is to describe the project that was done. I will do that. I'll talk about the guidance team, the action team, the plan, how it was executed, what went well, and some things that could have been improved. The High Performance Leadership Project is one of 3 requirements for Advanced Leader Silver. The first 2 are, one, to be a district officer for a period of 1 year. That I did when I was area governor. And the second is to coach a club kind of back from the dead into the living, which I managed to do with another club, with a lot of their help. The purpose of this project is to help with leadership. And let me continue with what was said in the introduction, or I forget whether it was said or not, but I've always been kind of a loner, and I've never really thought of myself as a leader, and I've never really been in a role like that until coming to Toastmasters. And so this is very much out of my comfort zone, the idea of leading a team and all that kind of stuff. Even when I was area governor, I tended to do a lot of stuff on my own and not really utilize the gifts that everybody else has. And that's part of my growth in all of this. So with the High Performance Leadership Project, you start by getting a guidance team. And those are experienced Toastmasters who help you plan the project. And I was very fortunate to have 3 wonderful Toastmasters, one of whom is here, Dr. Fred Sadler. The other was Carl Thormeyer, our resident Toastmaster. What would you call him? Dumbledore. And the third was Rochelle Onishi, who some of you know is a very experienced Toastmaster from here. And so we met up here for a total of 4 times. We were supposed to meet for 5, but that's another matter. But we met and we planned out what was going to be done. And the early steps had to do with envisaging the way that the project would be, and they talked about values, and we talked about a mission and the vision. And the mission that we came up with was as follows. I should tell you about the project that we selected. The project, the project was to plan and execute the Division A contest, which was held a few weekends ago. And so I was the contest chair for that. And the vision statement for this was that the contest will be an entertaining, smoothly run event in which the best contestants in Division A are judged to be the winners, and all are treated fairly and impartially. So the main objective of this was to have an entertaining event in which the best contestants were actually selected. And that turns out to be a little more problematic than you might think, and it had to do with some of the planning. Next, an action team was formed, and this is, for planning an event like this, it's a little bit of a challenge, especially since in Toastmasters there are certain things that have to be done a certain way. And to that, what I wanted to do was to make it go smoothly. I wanted key people to be experienced Toastmasters who kind of knew what to do. I was a little handicapped by the fact that Carl couldn't be there, so he's the person I usually rely on for things like this, and so he wasn't even going to be there. So that was one strand of the net that was taken away. But fortunately, I had some very experienced Toastmasters, such as Jim Griffin, who was the chief ballot counter, and an experienced Toastmaster as one of the chief judges, Nancy Lowe, from one of the other Toastmasters Club. Unfortunately, in the last week before the event, Nancy's had a death in the family and couldn't be there, so I had to scramble to find a replacement. So putting together this guidance team was a bit of a challenge for me because, again, I tend to be a bit of a loner, so it's difficult for me to ask people to do things. Kind of going back to some childhood stuff that I've talked about on other occasions, at least for those of you who've been here. It's difficult for me to deal with rejection. So if I ask someone to do something and they say no, then it takes me a while to recover from that. So knowing that that's going to happen, it's very difficult for me to ask for things, and that came out in this. One of the blessings of working on a project like this is that it does it stretched me in ways that I needed to be stretched and still need to be stretched. So what I wanted to do is have a mix of experienced Toastmasters and of Toastmasters who were a little less experienced so that they could get the experience of working with a team like that. And I think that worked out very well. My one chief judge was a man named Henry Miller, who's a distinguished Toastmaster, not the Henry Miller, not this another Henry Miller, who's just as fascinating in his own way, and that's in a whole other speech. And a relatively newer Toastmaster, a woman named Sophie Dubuquelar, who's with the Morning Club. And so I felt that was a good experience for her. So some things that did well. The planning for the facilities was something that was handled very effectively. We started setting up several hours before the event, and so usually when I do these things, there's always a last-minute scramble, and so it was done in a much more leisurely manner, and so things were set up fairly well ahead of time. There wasn't a last-minute scramble for stuff like that. The biggest place where I fell short was getting judges, and if you go back to the mission was to have the fairest judging. And to that end, the contestants were from all 4 areas, and I wanted to have equal representation of judges from all 4 areas. Now, I had plenty of judges from Area A1, and I had a couple of judges from Area A3 due to my contacts there. But from Areas A2 and A4, I wasn't able to get the judges. So the final composition of judges was not as balanced as I really wanted. It was actually heavily weighted in favor of A1, which is the area that we are. And what I'm a little bit disturbed is a little strong, but I have a little bit of angst about the fact that both contests were won by Toastmasters from Area A1. So that's, what can you do? So that's something that could have gone better. So what I could have done about that is that I could have been more aggressive in recruiting judges from these other areas. But by and large, I think that the contest was one that was run very smoothly. From the outside, it looked pretty good, even though I was kind of going crazy on the inside. And I received some good comments from people from the district. And by and large, it was an experience that stretched me in ways that I needed to be stretched. And I look forward to other things in Toastmasters, which will do that. And Toastmasters.